Implications of the forgiveness plan is Mo Kelly, radio host and analyst. Mo, thank you so much for being with us as always. Now let's talk about the critique coming from Republicans and even some Democrats who are saying the Inflation Recovery Act was just signed, but they're calling this the Inflation Expansion Act because this is going to cost the government about $500 billion, much more than the Inflation Reduction Act saved. What's the economic response from the Biden administration to that critique?
Well, the Biden administration is trying to play the role that this over the long haul is going to be good for America. When you put, in effect, money back in people's pockets, they are more able to invest in the economy, invest in themselves, and also America grows by that. It's almost like Ronald Reagan, where a rising tide will lift all boats. And that remains to be seen. And what's weird about this is almost like a flip of what was happening during the Trump administration when Democrats were arguing that the Trump tax cuts would have a similar adverse impact on the nation's economy.
Yeah, it's interesting, Mo, when you talk about people having more money in their pockets, those Republicans are saying, well, won't that contribute to more inflation, more money to spend? So we'll have to see about all that. And that actually tips up, Mo, this next point about the political implications of this. If Biden has an Achilles heel going into this election cycle, it is inflation. And so bringing this back up in this way may be grist for the mill for his opponents. And people are, by the way, critiquing him from both sides. Progressives are saying it's not enough. Republicans are saying it's too much. So what's the political case for the Biden administration in signing this? Who does he actually win with this?
He's actually trying to make a case for his voters. And the president is always the titular head of the party he represents. And so he has to make sure that his voters are taken care of going into the midterms. And he has to be able to give a story to Democrats all around the nation. Remember, Joe Biden is not on the ballot, but arguably his policies are. And anyone who's running for office right now needs to be a surrogate for the party and be able to say that the president has delivered on certain campaign promises. And I want to make one distinction. There's a difference between something which is good politics and something which is good governance. Now, we can make an argument that this may not be good governance in relation to how it may impact inflation. But anytime where you're putting money in people's pockets, like when Governor Gavin Newsom was sending out PPP checks right before the recall election, that's just good politics, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it was smart politics, too, right? Newsom's using the power of the purse there in the Treasury to stoke voter interest. I mean, there was a critique of that on the other side as well, but it is interesting. Mo, we have a minute left. We're talking about the political cycle. We're going into 2022. Let's just talk about what we're seeing overall. I mean, there was a special election in New York that turned a lot of heads. Also special elections in Nebraska and Minnesota, all of which you saw Democrats outperforming in a cycle when you would expect Republicans to be doing well, which is what usually happens with midterms when one party holds the White House, the other one does well in the midterms. But we're seeing this interesting thing happen. What does these recent special elections tell you about what we can expect in this election cycle?
I would say measured confidence. If you're a Democrat, I would say that the Democrats are more confident and encouraged today as opposed to 2 months ago. But 2 months from now, who is to say? This is not predictive and it's not determinative, but the Democrats should feel better about themselves, that they're generating some positive momentum where they had none 2 months ago.
Well, they're happy about that momentum, but Mo, as we're saying, this Inflation Recovery or Expansion Act, as Republicans are saying, they're hoping they can make some hay out of that. So thank you so much, Mo Kelly, for breaking it down, playing devil's advocate with me. I appreciate that. Let's get both sides of this conversation going. Very good to have you, as always, Mo. All right, well, let's talk about being QB1 at the nation's